do that. We've judiciously applied monies from the free cash to be able to accomplish that goal. One of the items that we've also looked to do is we've earmarked surpluses in our current year budget to rebuild our reserves. Unfortunately, as a result of the fact that we didn't have a special town meeting, we're not going to do that. We'll be able to do it in October, but we can't do it this evening. In terms of cost items that are contained within the budget supports critical public safety initiatives. That includes adding a new police lieutenant detective position to our rank and 2 police officers. It ramps up our ALS program for the fire department. Those are 2 critical initiatives that have been driven from administration and the board over the last year. The budget also adds critical staffing for our information technology department. Our information technology department on the town site consists of 1 person. So we're going to have 2 people. And keep in mind, a lot of the efforts that we have are associated with technology going forward. So those are the general highlights associated with the budget, and I thank you very much for your time, and thank you for being here this evening.
Further discussion? Mrs. Bailey.
Thank you. Marcy Bailey, 21 Duane Drive. Someone needs to ask a question, so I guess that someone will be me. Could you just highlight, Mr. Valiakonis, the moves that you made within the budget since the special town meeting couldn't happen and how that changed the operating budget and the sources of revenue?
We, as I said, we had $600,000 in the special town meeting that we wanted to put into the capital stabilization. Excuse me, the budget under Article 7 was predicated on $600,000 of revenues coming out of the capital stabilization fund. We only have $486,000 in revenues in that account as it stands today. So what we're able to do is we're able to take an amount from free cash in the amount of $120,000 and transfer it to our pension and benefits account. So that was one of the major moves that we accomplished. The other items?
Well, we're going to take 114 from free cash to offset the employee benefits pension, and not the whole 120 that we had available to us. And then we're taking the 486,000 that we have available currently right now in the debt stabilization to offset the budget. So instead of the 600,000 from the capital project stabilization, debt stabilization, they go hand in hand, same name. We're taking the 486, and then to make it to 600,000, we're taking 114 from free cash.
We had some ambitious plans for the adding money to the capital stabilization fund this evening. We'll have to address that at October town meeting. It won't be addressed this evening.
We also had set aside in Article 5 of the special town meeting to take $52,000 out of the fire department's budget that they were not able to use this year that came from ambulance reserve. So we were going to put that $52,000 back into the ambulance reserve account. Because we can't do that, we need to reduce the fire department budget by the $52,000 and put it back in October. Because that budget was being supported by a transfer from the ambulance reserve. So lines 33 and 34 will be reduced accordingly.
And if I can just speak to that $52,000 amount, I know Fire Chief is here, Acting Fire Chief is here. The Board of Selectmen this evening has unanimously agreed that $52,000 will be put back into the fire department budget.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? And we still have one more motion under Article 7. Mr. Delaney.
This is the items that need two-thirds vote. Article 7, FY 2013 operating budget. Mr. Moderator, I move to raise and appropriate and transfer the sum set forth in the column headed Selected and Recommended in the lines 48 and 49, Solid Waste Management, in the amount of $968,100, in line 90, Debt Service, in the amount of $3,822,402, including the transfer of all other funds set forth in the budget details dated June 4, 2012, except the amount transferred from the Capital Project Stabilization Fund for debt service be set at $486,000.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation? Mr. Delaney.
Board of Selectmen unanimously recommend.
For the Finance Committee, Mr. Keller.
Finance Committee recommends this article.
Further discussion? Mr. Delaney said this requires a two-thirds vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 8, Mr. O'Leary.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Transfers from free cash to supplement the fiscal year 2013 operating budget. I move to transfer from free cash the following amounts to supplement the fiscal year 2013 operating budget as follows. Town administrator expenses, $14,000. Accounting expenses, $15,000. Police department expenses, $32,000. Fire department salaries, $48,723. Fire department expenses, $44,000. School department, $200,000, for a total of $353,723 as specified in Article 8, printed in the warrant.
Does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation? Mr. O'Leary.
Board of Selectmen unanimously recommends.
For the Finance Committee, Mrs. Hurlbut.
Finance Committee recommends.
For the School Department, Mr. Webster.
School Department recommends.
Further discussion. Mr. O'Leary.
Just by way of explanation, the $14,000 of the town administrator's budget is for an assessment center for the fire chief's position, which will be taking place. The accounting services, consulting services for the accounting department, $15,000. CompSpass settlement for the police department. We have a settlement that we have to have an obligation to meet under a federal grant, which was given to the town, but overpaid. We're in the process of paying it back. It's $32,000 for the upcoming fiscal year. In the fire department, the implementation of the ALS system, $44,000 is for tuitions, and $48,723 is for salaries for those people as they're going through the ALS certification process. And again, the school department is an additional $200,000.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Article 9, Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Moderator, I move the sum of $82,000 pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7-9, for 2 replacement vehicles and related accessories for the Water Department, and transfer from the Water Infrastructure Stabilization Fund the sum of $97,000 to update the Water Master Plan as specified in Article 9, as printed in the warrant.
We have the motion for a recommendation from the Selectmen. Mr. O'Leary.
Board of Selectmen unanimously recommend.
For the Finance Committee, Mrs. Hurlbut.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion? Mr. O'Leary.
Mr.
$97,000 for the updated water master plan. Our last update of this master plan was in 1992. So we're finding it necessary to update our plan for drinking water and fire protection supplies and purposes. We'll be looking at the infrastructure within the water department system, the pumping stations, the whole gamut. So it's time to update the master plan. That's $97,000. And the water department replacement vehicles, we're looking to replace 2 vehicles. One is a 2001 SUV with 147,000 miles. The other one is a 1999 light truck with 97,000 miles. We will be replacing the SUV with a Ford Edge, which is a downsized vehicle in an effort to save on gas. And we're replacing the light truck with a Ford F-350 with a utility body.
Further discussion? Mr. Vino.
Thank you. Joe Vino, 11 Rock Street. Could somebody just explain a little bit more to me, please, the update on the water master plan? Is that just going to be a plan that tells us what we have to spend in the future, or are we going to be buying equipment under that plan?
Mr. O'Leary.
No purchase of any equipment. This is just an update of our current infrastructure, current status of everything within the water department system, and then then that will lay out for us what our game plan is going to be going forward.
And that's going to cost $97,000.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Further discussion? This does require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. I declare a 2/3 majority. Article 10, Mr. O'Leary.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move to raise and appropriate the sum of $250,000 for the purpose of funding fiscal year 2013 retirement obligations for town employees as specified in Article 10 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Board of Selectmen, Mr. O'Leary.
Board of Selectmen unanimously recommend.
Recommendation for the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion, Mr. O'Leary.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As you can see up on the board here, this is to meet our contractual obligations with the public employees in relation to end of career buybacks. As you can see from a historical standpoint, in fiscal year 2009, the cost was $370,000, approximately $393,000 in fiscal year 10, and $395,000 fiscal year 2011. This year, we're looking for an appropriation of something significantly less, it's $250,000. This is a direct correlation between our contractual obligations and the contracts that we just settled between the school department and their employees, as well as the general government. So the career-end buybacks have now been reduced significantly, and we appreciate the efforts of the employees for assisting us in keeping these prices down, the cost of this down. Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 11, Mr. Messeri.
Mr. Moderator, I move to pass over Article 11 as printed in the warrant.
Does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation? Mr. Messeri.
The Board of Selectmen recommends.
Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion, Mr. Messeri.
In the process of balancing the budget, there was no additional money put into the stabilization fund.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.